Hi everybody, it's Barry Pearman here from Turning the Page, and just want to say thank you for again tuning in to Turning the Page podcast and letting me fill your ears with some words. And at the moment I'm actually writing a new book about men, and in particular how to listen to men so that they talk. And so you'll probably notice that some of my latest podcasts and blog articles have been particularly focused around men because I'm writing chapters, so that's sort of filling my mind at the moment. So today's blog post and podcast is entitled "Every Man Needs the Gift of Respect." The heart of a man dries up without words of encouragement. By the way, a lot of these things apply to women as well, but in particular I'm just sort of having a focus towards the men. So your men's hearts dry up without words of encouragement, but the gift of respect can flood his life with hope. So we really actually need to listen well. In all this man he wanted was some whispers of thankfulness, some acknowledgement that what he did mattered. He had worked hard all day, fought his battles and sweated out a song. Now Otis wanted to come home and be told, well done. He wanted his remembered movements to be noticed, affirmed and validated as having value, particularly to his soulmate, his wife. I believe Otis Redding wrote the song Respect with those thoughts in mind. And then Aretha Franklin came along, changed the lyrics and the music and turned it into an anthem for both the women's rights movement and the black freedom struggles. Wikipedia says this: Otis Redding's version was written from the perspective of a hardworking man who can only look forward to getting home and finally receiving the respect he deserves from his family. His version is less a plea for respect and more a comment on a man's feeling of worth. Listen to this. A man's feeling of worth in his work, life and at home. He mentions that he's about to just give you all of my money and that all he wants in return is respect. And then Aretha Franklin's version, and she changed the lyrics, is a declaration from a strong, confident woman who knows what that she has everything her man wants. She never does him wrong and demands his RESPECT. That's from Wikipedia. You can't demand respect. Let's just get that clear. You can't demand respect. It's a gift from a considered observation. It's interesting to dig into the Greek language and discover something of what that word means. Phobia, which is spelled Phobeo with a little dashy thing on the top. It means to show reverence, venerate, to treat with deference or reverential obedience. It also has some fear-based connotations: to put to flight, to terrify and to frighten. But in the context of healthy relationships, it's about seeing something, dare I say, almost godlike in the other. Something that sort of captures your attention and admiration. It's like, oh, I see it. As C.S. Lewis puts it, we're not in a relationship with mere mortals. Pulling back the curtain of a man's fumblings and foolishness, we all do things. We might just see something that makes us stand in awe, and that's respect. There is a greater story going on, one that has been going on forever, and we are all part of it. I can trace a few verses of my own story back to like 150 years ago, to where a young man in England boarded a sailing ship and ventured off to a distant foreign land called New Zealand, which is where I live. Charles Pearman was his name. I learned a few years ago that before his embarkation, a church service was held at the Metropolitan Tabernacle, which was the place which Charles Spurgeon preached from. I think, wow, could my story include listening to one of the greatest biblical orators of our time? I wonder if Charles Pearman, my great-great-great-grandfather, remembered the story of Abraham leaving the comforts of his home and venturing out into the great unknown. Genesis 12:1 says, "The Lord had said to Abraham, go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you." Charles and Abraham remembered and moved. I remember something of God's nature and character and move into my world to bring something of the greater story to bear. My children are doing the same. I see the strands of an invisible thread knitting its way through our lives. Friedrich Nietzsche, he said, invisible threads are the strongest ties. Aretha might have been demanding respect, but it's really a gift. Men and women who demand you respect them lose it in an instant. That's called authoritarian leadership, dictatorship, demandingness, all repugnant. Respect is an acknowledgement of seeing something in the other that makes your heart sing. It's seeing the remembered movement of a dance that's been going on forever and you're cheering on the steps. If you want to listen to a man, then listen for the remembered movements he makes. Every man wants to have some sense of acknowledgement that his life has weight. There is a good consequence to his remembered movements. So number one, become a student of awareness. Just become so aware. Take note of what he does, how he does it, what seems to make him come fully alive. I have a builder working on my home at the moment. He is very careful and precise with his measurements. He lets me know what time he'll be at our home. He has helpful suggestions about what is needed for the job. It seems that he is fully alive with a hammer in his hand. Number two, look for a connection to the greater story. There is a greater, larger story going on that most men are unaware that they are connected into. I see in my builder the story of millions of men who have shown up for work every day, building, creating, restoring, bringing order to a disordered world. Number three, verbalize thankfulness. Respect grows out of thankfulness. We see a remembered movement and we are thankful for it. I observe the workmanship my builder does. Then with a specific focus, I acknowledge that movement. And I might say to him something like this: I so appreciated you texting me each day when you are becoming next. It just helps me plan. And thanks for your suggestions too. There is a lot of wisdom behind your ideas. Well done. Really appreciate your hard work. Now these 3 steps may seem weird to you, but practice them and watch a man's life grow. So here's some quotes to think about. Praise and encouragement are much more effective in changing others' behaviour than is criticism. But which do you use on yourself? David Riddell. Saturnius, the glory of God is man fully alive. Woo-hoo! And good old C.S. Lewis. Wonderful long quote. It is a serious thing to live in a society of possible gods and goddesses. To remember that the dullest, most uninteresting person you can talk to may one day be a creature which, if you saw it now, you would be strongly tempted to worship, or else a horror and a corruption such as you now meet, if at all only in a nightmare. All day long we are, in some degree, helping each other to one or the other of these destinations. It is in the light of these overwhelming possibilities, it is with the awe and circumspection proper to them, that we should conduct all of our dealings with one another, all friendships, or love, or play, or politics. There are no ordinary people. You have never talked to a mere mortal. Nations, cultures, arts, civilizations, these are mortal, and their life is to ours as the life of a gnat. But it is to immortals whom we joke with, work with, marry, snub, and exploit. Immortal horrors or everlasting splendours. I love it. C.S. Lewis, The Weight of Glory. Here's some questions for you that you might like to consider too. And I like to give these questions, and if you want to answer them, send us an email, barry@turningthepage.info. What does the word respect mean to you? Number 2, men can often feel entitled and demand respect. Why does this never work for them or others? Number 3, what is the largest story that a man you know connects into? You might be a man too. What is the largest story that you're connected into? So I hope you found this helpful, and I so appreciate you listening to this each week. And if you'd like to come over to the blog and read it there, share it out onto your social networks, tell people about the podcast, tell people about the blog. In particular, just looking for people to help fund this, and it's pretty simple. You come over to turningthepage.info/support, and you can find out how to become a Patreon supporter or all sorts of different ways that you can be part of my team. Hey, thanks very much, and we will catch up with you next week. Keep on turning that page.